What's up, Flyers fans? We're back here with another episode of the Florida Flyer. I keep saying we, and I think it's just because of the other podcast that I do is actually with another person. This is just me talking to a camera, but I hope that you enjoy me talking to a camera. All four of you that actually watch this. So I haven't been as consistent doing Florida Flyer because I'm making some changes. I'm going to start a blog site, hopefully after the holidays. I'm going to start writing follow-ups and post-games to every game and just things that I've noticed because I take a shit ton of notes on each game. And unless it's a really big thing, I really don't talk about it in these. And getting these out with some consistency has been a little difficult. My schedule has been tight, to say the least. So normally I'm wearing Flyer stuff. This week I'm wearing the Bring Hockey Back Humboldt Broncos jersey. So just representing Humboldt, #Humboldt Strong. I love everything. You know, I have a Violent Gentleman Humboldt Broncos t-shirt as well. Anything, anybody does to try and support those guys, I'm in support. So, being that I am typically a rushed individual, I'm going to try not to rush through this because these have been some interesting days for Flyers fans. Let's just start with the big one. Ron Hextall fired on Monday, and that is unexpected. I think it was unexpected by a lot of the fan base, most of the fan base, and has been met with a lot of different backlash. Some people saying he fired the wrong guy, other people saying, this is the change we're asking for. There seemed to be a renewed sense of hope a little bit that the Flyers were going to be in a direction that was slightly positive. Since last night's game against Ottawa, that seems different. I can't 100% say that everyone's still positive or feels that we're trending in a positive direction, but yeah, so Hextall being gone, the one takeaway that I think I have that I don't know if enough people are expressing is that I think if Hextall was part of the problem, if Hextall refused to fire Hextall, if he refused to fire LaPerriere, if he was really that dead set on things being done his way, he was part of the problem, and he was the biggest part of the problem. He failed to acknowledge that his penalty kill coach and his penalty kill in the last few years has been awful. And that is from, that soundbite he even gave that said, the penalty kill, the numbers aren't there, but it's visually better. No, it's not. If you've watched a Flyers game other than the Vegas game and arguably last night, but Ottawa's not a offensive powerhouse by any stretch of the imagination. But regardless, unless you're talking about the Vegas Knights game, the first game of the season, their penalty kill has not looked good. But yeah, I'm a believer. I love what Ron Hextall did in his time here. I'm a huge supporter of Ron Hextall. I think he did amazing things. But if he was unwilling to make those changes, the changes that were needed in order for this team to take another step, and that is trading prospects, picks, things like that, and we'll get into some of that in a little bit, then he was part of the problem. You cannot build a team straight up from top to bottom with prospects. Carter Hart is not the answer at this point, and we will also talk about that. There's a lot of stuff I want to talk about. I'm going to try and keep this under an hour, but there's a lot of things I want to talk about, so I'm trying to breeze through the Hextall stuff. I feel like everybody's kind of heard, what is going on with that. Also today, Gord Murphy and Chris Pryor were fired. Super surprising, but that to me says that the Hextall firing was bad. I think that there was probably elevated voices. Again, I'm the Florida Flyer, so I am in Orlando, Florida. I have no connections. This is just one guy's opinion. But I would say that it probably did not end well. I would say that there's probably burnt bridges. Because I think from what it seems like to me, Paul Holmgren is trying to erase Ron Hextall from this organization. And that kind of scares me when it comes to prospects and stuff. I want to see the Morgan Frosts of the world. I want to see Phil Myers. I want to see, these guys get their shot. But if Homer's, trying to go scorched earth on the Hextall legacy, then we won't see these guys. Chris Pryor was a surprise to me because he's been with the team since the 90s. Gordon Murphy, Hextall hire and, stayed on after Berube was let go. Not super surprised there, but yeah, Pryor is a hell of a scout. There's not a lot of, I read it today. I think Dave Isaac said it. He hasn't missed. There's not a lot of misses that happened in the Flyers drafts with him in charge. And what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? It'll be interesting. It's nice to see them trying to get a new perspective. I think this is going to shift the dynamic of the team. And I'm curious to see how much say Hextall actually had in his assistants. Is Hextall keeping LaPerriere around, or was Hextall keeping LaPerriere around? Because, one of the quotes today, or one of the blips that came out today, was that, Homer talked to Hextall about Gord Murphy, and Hextall said, let him go. So very interested to see what happens with that. But I realized today Frank Saravalli beat me to the punch. Today is Wednesday, by the way, so I don't know if this will post on Wednesday or on Thursday. But Frank Saravalli came out with an available goaltenders article today. I had written this out Monday night after Hextall because this is my project number one. I think when you're bringing in a new GM, the first thing that needs to be done is addressing the goaltending situation. So I listed available goaltenders in my mind who would be available, and I have them sorted in categories, and that's kind of what I want to get into first, and then I want to talk about some other stuff. So first, the available goalies that I said, and again, this is maybe. I have Jake Allen, who I think is absolutely available in St. Louis. Craig Anderson's absolutely available in Ottawa. Bob, he is available, but he's also not available. I think Columbus is going to make a run. But if you give them a deal that knocks their socks off, I think, Bob could be had because he's expressed that he's leaving. And he's not winning himself any favors over there. He's playing well now. He was not playing well to start the season, but I don't think Columbus wants to see him walk for nothing. Jonathan Quick, I think, could be had from LA. Injury prone, yes, but when he's playing, he's a top 10 goalie in this league. Corey Crawford was an interesting name that I came across. I think he could be had. He's only got 2 years left on his contract. Martin Jones or Aaron Dell. Aaron Dell's numbers are fantastic as the backup for San Jose. Jones's are not super this season, but I think he's a good goaltender. I think he might just need to change the scenery. He's locked up for another couple of years. Tuukka Rask, I think, could be had. Yaroslav Halak has basically taken that job over. Boston would be tough to take Tuukka from, especially an in-conference rival. I don't know if they'd absolutely trade him to us, but just again, this is just available. And Cam Talbot, absolutely available in my mind. Edmonton is done with the Cam Talbot experiment. So guys that I think are probably possible for the Flyers to get: Jake Allen, Craig Anderson, Corey Crawford. I think Chicago's just trying to retool as quickly as possible. And Crawford, by the end, he's got, I believe, 2 more years on his contract, this year and next year, and then I think he's a free agent, and he'll be 35 at the end of his contract. So I do not think he will be around by the time Chicago is relevant again. And Cam Talbot, I think they could all be had by the Flyers right now if Paul Holmgren made a call, or the GM, whoever he hires, makes a call. I think that these guys could be had for various assets. Maybe not even a lot, especially in Talbot's scenario with Peter Chiarelli running Edmonton. You could probably trade a bag of pucks for Cam Talbot. Possible guys, I think Quick is possible. I don't know if LA is I don't know how excited a team would be to get Jonathan Quick, and also how excited LA would be to lose Quick. So that would be, that's a meh. Martin Jones, Aaron Dell. San Jose might want to ride this tandem out this season. I think they're really making a push for a cup, but I think one of them could potentially be had if you give a decent enough offer. Aaron Dell is also going to be a free agent after this season, I believe. So instead of, again, losing for nothing, whatever. Mike Smith, someone I didn't mention above. I don't know if he's available per se. He's still playing like the first string goalie for Calgary, but he's not playing well. He's 36. I think he's got a year or two left on his contract. And the ones that I do not think are really an option, Bob, I don't think that he, would like coming back here per se. But it's obviously possible, but I think it's an outrageous scenario. Tuukka Rask, outrageous scenario. I don't think that happens. I don't think he comes here. And I wrote down Malcolm Subban as a flyer because, they just re-upped Fleury for a while, but he turned 34, and he's going to be on the downside. At some point in time, age is going to catch up to Flower, and, it'll be interesting. But Malcolm Subban also, I think, could be an option potentially. So I also made a note as of watching Tuesday night's game against Ottawa. Stoley might be a viable option with Elliott, but both of them are injury prone, and Stoley not playing last year other than 4 games, is kind of terrifying. But it's better than Michael Neuvirth, who can't make it through preseason or one game and warmups, and Elliott. He's 33 years old. He had a core muscle injury last year, has had multiple surgeries on that injury, got hurt going from post to post, which is something that, the NHL saw. Anyone that's coming in to scout the Flyers, to watch the Flyers, and they're going to see how to beat Elliott. Now, not only do they need to just shoot the puck up, going post to post is now going to be a problem for him if that injury is any indication. So that's not great. I think they need a goalie stat. This team can compete. This team can win games. They are competitive. They are talented. In spite of themselves, they could win more games if they had league average goaltending instead of the league's worst goaltending. So, keeping with goalies for now. Sorry, I'm going to check stuff off as I go. Trying to keep track of everything. Everyone that's calling for Carter Hart to come up is not paying attention. He is struggling right now in the AHL. He's got a goals against average under 89%. I think it's an 884 if I remember correctly, and his goals against average is over 3. He's not ready for the NHL. He's not stopping stuff in the AHL. The players in the NHL are better. They're going to pick them apart. And our defense right now is in shambles. This defense is awful. Robert Haig is one of the guys that's playing top pair minutes. And I do not, last night was different. I believe if Ghost and Provorov were together for a decent part of the night. But up until that point, Haig was playing top pair minutes. He was playing over 20 minutes a night. Robert Haig is not a top pair defenseman. He's just not. He's a really good bottom 6, bottom pairing guy. If he's your 5-6, your team's doing well. I'd like to see his first pass be better. I'd like to see him shoot smarter. I feel like he just gets the puck and shoots very a la Radko Gudas, but he doesn't even have as good a shot as Gudas does. And I've referenced that in other videos. Carter Hart's not ready. People that are saying, throw him up here and see what happens. Let the kid, get to be a professional. Give him a season to be able to figure out the rigors of the game. If he starts killing it in 2 months and is consistently killing it, then fine. I'm all game. Call him up, see what he's got at the end of the season. And then, by the start of next year, hopefully he can come in and at least be, someone who splits time with a Corey Crawford or a Martin Jones or a Cam Talbot, something along those lines. But Hart is not ready. Hart is not ready for the NHL. He was the best goalie out of training camp. I think if he had any shot of being in the NHL this season, it was then. But Hextall decided to give him a year in the AHL. And honestly, I think it's what's best for him. I think if he came up here, he'd be lost. The defense just is not good. Provorov's not playing well. Ghost isn't playing well. And, your best defenseman night in and night out is Radko Gudas. And that's not a slight on Radko. I like Gudas, but, that's not who you want your best defenseman to be. Firing the wrong guy, I already kind of touched on that. I think it's the right guy if he was keeping the wrong guys here, because it was his way or the highway. And the last thing I really want to touch on, and it's going to be kind of brief, taking the C from Claude Giroux. I talked about this in a podcast I did last season. So if you want to go back and look at Florida Flyer stuff, you can do that. But this is foolish. This is foolish. There is a leadership group in Philadelphia. There's not just a leader. He has a C. It's just a letter. It's a letter on his jersey. It's not. It doesn't make him any more. He can talk to a ref. That's what it is. He can talk to a ref without getting an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. Like, that's really all that means. Is Connor McDavid the guy in the Edmonton locker room that's firing people up? No. The C is now something that you give your best player. Everyone in the league gives their C to the player that is the best point getter on their team, other than I think Minnesota, who there is Nino Niederreiter. I think. I'm not even 100% certain on that. But most teams give the C 98% to the guy who scores the most points. This is not like olden times where Bobby Clark gets the C because he scores all the points and he also punches people in the face. This isn't what that is. Taking the C from Giroux will do nothing but alienate him to this franchise, and that would be foolish. It would be foolish he has been your best player night in and night out offensively. Offensively, he's been the best player. He's still one of the best guys in the league at point getting at this juncture, and he's 31 years old. You know, the team is not playing well. He's doing this without a good power play. The team is not playing well. He's getting very few power play points. They have 4 power play opportunities in the last 4 games or something like that, and none in the last 2. 0 power play chances in the last 2 games, which is ridiculous. And he's still almost at 30 points, which is over a point a game pace. It's stupid. It's dumb. Stop saying to take the C from him. That does nothing. It's not going to do anything. It's not going to change the way he plays. All it's going to do is make us look weak as a franchise. It's stupid. Taking the C from anyone is that's not a punishment. That doesn't matter. What, you're going to take away the C and put an A on his sweater? Like, no, it's stop. Just stop. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. I don't understand people that have that argument. And if you're watching this and you have that feeling, please comment down below why you think taking the C makes any bit of difference to anyone, because I don't. The man is honestly on a bargain contract. He's not even making $8.5 million, and he was second in the league in points last year. Connor McDavid makes $12 million, and he scored 7 more points than Claude Giroux. The man's a bargain. The man's a bargain. Stop calling for his head. Stop calling for him to be traded. Without Claude Giroux on this team is awful. Is terrible. So one of the last things I want to get into is goal differential and non-off-season acquisitions by the Flyers this offseason. Right now, they're 29th in the league in the standings. They are 29th. That is by points, not point percentage, because I did this kind of quickly. Like I said, this was last night at like 3 a.m. They're last in the Eastern Conference, and they have the 6th worst goal differential in the NHL with a -14 as of recording this Wednesday at 4:30. I have feelings. So Ron Hextall did not want to move prospects. That was a thing. He was going to live and die by the draft. You know, you could tell it visibly hurt him to move draft picks last year for Peter Mrazek. Detroit offered a 3rd round pick from what I had read. They offered Mrazek for a 3rd round pick, straight up 3rd round pick. A week before, or even days before, the Flyers officially ran out of goalies, and then the Flyers had to go get Mrazek and had to give them more, because why wouldn't Detroit jack up the price? They gave you an option to get the guy. You said no, and then you had to come back with your tail between your legs because you didn't want to give up a 3rd round pick. It's fine. That was Hextall's mentality. I don't necessarily agree with it, but here we are. These are some of the guys that were traded in the offseason. This was only a couple. I didn't want to break down the whole offseason, but Erik Karlsson, currently having a down year, but has more points than every Flyers defenseman with 15 points. He's got 2 goals and 13 assists. He's averaging almost 25 minutes a night on ice. And that goals number should probably go up because he's shooting under 3%. He's at 2.9% right now. So it's only a matter of time before the floodgates open for Carlson and he finds his game, whether it's in San Jose or somewhere else. I, he's got more points than every Flyers defenseman right now, and he's not playing his best hockey. So Jeff Skinner, this was going to be fun. I'll break down some of these as well. 27 points, 19 goals, 8 assists. He's averaging under 18 minutes of ice time, and he's shooting at 24%. So expect that number to go down because that's obscene. And that's, real quick, before we get into, I'm thinking of shooting percentage right now. He's shooting 23%, which is ridiculous. Valtteri Filppula, who a lot of people are calling for on Flyers Twitter and Facebook and stuff, he's shooting at a 33.3% clip, or at least he was a couple nights ago. He is not the player that you think he is. Go in and look at his advanced stats. He is awful. He's shooting at 33%. 1 in 3 shots he takes are going in. That is not a sustainable pace. This guy is fallen off a cliff, and he's not the player you think he is. You have to go look at the advanced stats and the metrics because he's not that guy. He's not that guy. The Islanders are now starting to even out as to where they were when they came out with their head on fire. They're now showing the team that they are, and I say that as a Flyers fan who's in mourning right now because our team is not playing well. That Ottawa game last night broke my heart. Dougie Hamilton only has less points than Shane Gostisbehere. He's got 8 points, 3 goals, 5 assists, and he's averaging 20 minutes a night on ice. Ryan O'Reilly, 26 points, 12 goals, 14 assists. He's averaging 20 minutes a game of ice time, and he's also shooting at 20%, so that'll probably go down. But all of these guys were traded in the offseason. Some of them could have been had by the Flyers, and this is what had I been GM, I did a little armchair GM stuff last night. O'Reilly was had for a first round pick in 2019 and a second round pick in 2021. He was also packaged for... So to get O'Reilly, they had a first, a second, Tage Thompson, and they dumped the salaries of Peter Berglund and Victor Sobotka. Tage Thompson compares first and second. That's how you start it. Flyers are giving up a first and a second for Ryan O'Reilly, who already has 26 points this season. First and a second, gone. I feel no pain to that. His player comparison of Tage Thompson is Jamie Benn. That was the guy that they really wanted to go to Buffalo, from St. Louis to Buffalo. So Buffalo now has Tage Thompson. I think he scored against the Flyers the other day. He averaged almost a point a game in college at UConn. Berglund, his career average is about 30 points a season. And Sobotka has never gotten more than 33 points. He averages about 18 points a season. So he's very up and down. He's a very up and down guy. So what they really wanted was a first, a second, and Tage Thompson. You probably could have gotten less if you didn't do the salary dumps of Berglund and Sobotka, but they did. A Flyers package, in my mind, would have contained a first and a second. Obviously, that seemed like it was a non-negotiable. Isaac Ratcliffe or Wade Allison. Had he been healthy, I think that would have been an option. And then you could have included a Weiss or Laterra in that deal, and as well as I think you need a chip and a Scott Lawton to fill. If you're going to do a salary dump, you could have dumped Laterra or Weiss. Weiss with another year on his contract. I think you then need to include Lawton. Laterra, probably not, but you may have to give up the better player in who I believe to be Isaac Ratcliffe. I think his ceiling is higher than Allison's. I just think Allison is a better player than him right now. Plus, Allison is now coming off ACL surgery, so we'll see where he's at. Ratcliffe is tearing it up for Guelph right now. But that package could have gotten you Ryan O'Reilly, who could be your second-line center right now, and I think we'd be in a much different spot. The guy's a good player. He's got a big cap hit for quite a few more years, but he's playing well. He's a good player. He's always a guy that you can find places for in your lineup. Plus, he plays center and wing. He's a versatile guy, And you then have Nolan Patrick up going against third line centers who he's better than. Is he ready to be a second line center? Probably not. I love Nolan Patrick. I have a Nolan Patrick jersey. I love it. It's great. I'm excited to see where this kid goes because there's shifts where he dominates, and I'm very excited to see him put it together. But is he ready to be a second line center in the NHL? No, he is not. He is not there. He's not even physically matured yet. He's not at his peak. So there's no way he's better than, most grown men every night on every shift. He's not. He's just not there. Look how long it took Sean Couturier to figure out, oh yeah, I'm bigger than most of these guys. I'm stronger than most of these guys. And now, last year he woke up. I don't expect him to have the same kind of year as he had last year, a little less, but look how far he's come, from year to year. I think with that package, so a Flyers first, second, and we'll just say for the sake of argument, Isaac Ratcliffe and Dale Weiss could have gotten you, and maybe Scott Lawton could have gotten you Ryan O'Reilly. And that would be a huge upgrade. But Hextall didn't want to part with the first and the second, I'm sure, and losing Ratcliffe or Allison, I'm sure, was out of the question. It's just, this is stuff to think about. Everyone says that they fired the wrong guy, and he could have been had. This guy could be here right now, and he's not. So that's something to think about. Another one I broke down, Jeff Skinner. Jeff Skinner was had for Cliff Poo, Buffalo's second in 2019, and a third and sixth round pick in 2020. Ironically enough, Cliff Poo's player comparison, when I looked it up, was Wayne Simmons. From what I read in his scouting report, his ceiling is a second liner, but most likely an effective third line guy, some special teams play. Wayne Simmons. That is Wayne Simmons' upside, who I also think needs to be off this team. Simmons is a ghost right now, a shell of his former self, but that's for another podcast. Cool. I am under the time that I thought I was. So I think Skinner could have been had. I think Skinner was ripe for the picking. A second, a third, and a sixth plus a prospect, I give that up in a second. I do a second and a third and a lesser prospect in a heartbeat for Jeff Skinner, especially because he's a consistent performer. Granted, he's not going to score 19 goals in 25 games or whatever it is. Buffalo's played 23, 24, something like that. He's got 19 goals, which is obscene. As we established, he's shooting like 24%. He's not going to do that all season, and he might not have done that here, but he's still a consistent performer. He plays both wings. He's a good skater. He's a good player to have around. And this year, he's going to get paid. He's going to get paid in this offseason. So I think Skinner could have been had for Maxim Shushko, Tanner Lazinski, or maybe even Strome as a throw-in. If you wanted to save a pick or something, because who knows? If Strome learns to skate, he'll be a bottom six. He'll be a top 9 player. I'll say that. He'll be a top 9 player, probably third line, because his skating will never be excellent. He's never, at this point in his life, he's never going to be an excellent skater. But can he do well enough to be able to succeed? Absolutely. Absolutely. The man has hockey sense coming out of his ass because he's able to be slower and a worse skater than everyone, but still get a shit ton of points. So the guy has hockey sense, and that's very important. But I think for a second, a third, and a sixth, plus a Shushko, Lazinski, Strome, those guys all have that same upside. I mean, maybe if you even want to talk about a Wade Allison, which I think is more. I think you'd actually give less if you offered up a prospect like Allison for Skinner. Would that hurt later down the line to see Wade Allison become potentially a successful NHL player? Of course it would. But you have the pipeline stacked. You have the Shushkos, the Lazinskis, the Stromes. Lazinski's going to be a Hobey Baker finalist this year. The unwillingness to move. Eventually, we're going to run out of space. We will not have not all of these guys are going to see the NHL with the Flyers. You have to move them eventually. You have to move them for other players that are successful at an NHL level. And I think that's where the Paul Holmgrens and the Dave Scotts of the world are a little upset, because who knows if we're ever going to see Maxim Shushko? Who knows if we're ever going to see Felix Sandstrom? Who knows if we don't know. We really don't know what these guys are going to be, but we're holding on to them because of what they could be. I know what Jeff Skinner is. I know Jeff Skinner could get 60 points on this team. And if he's playing like he is right now, I know he could get 80 points on this team, maybe even more. So you got to give to get. And I'm not saying to clear out the prospects. I'm not saying to eliminate the farm system, because I'm excited for Morgan Frost. I'm excited for Isaac Ratcliffe. I'm excited for, a lot of these guys. I have other names in my head that I just can't pull out in this moment. But, Rupstov was doing well until he went down for the Phantoms. And, I'm excited for Nicholas Aube-Kubel. I'm excited for those guys. Vorobiev looked good for a little bit. I'm excited to see those guys. But if we have to move one of them to get a Jeff Skinner, to get a Ryan O'Reilly, to get a proven NHL player, and both of these guys are arguably first line, second line players. If I'm going to move a prospect in Wade Allison or Shushko or whoever that is maybe a first line guy, like you can't bat an eyelash at that, because Allison was looking like he was going to be in the NHL this year, or at least the AHL, and then he blew his ACL out last year, and he's just now getting back into playing shape. So who knows what he's going to be now? Who knows if he's going to come back the same? Ghost did, but is Ghost a freak? Is he? We'll find out. I think Hextall dropped the ball not moving for these guys. I mentioned Carlson. Ottawa didn't want him in the Eastern Conference. There was no shot we were going to get him. Doesn't matter what we wanted to give up, what they wanted from us. He wasn't going to be in the Eastern Conference. They didn't want him here, so they sent him to the other conference and kept him about as far away from Ottawa as they could. And I understand that. He's going to be a free agent at the end of the year. I think he might still go to Tampa, depending on what that team looks like. And Dougie Hamilton, they gave up Elias Lindholm and Noah Hannafin, and I don't think the Flyers would be willing to give up that much, because those are, now you're looking at guys that are on the cusp. You're looking at I don't even know if Vorobiev is comparable to Lindholm. I think Lindholm is better, but they gave up two really good players that were struggling in Carolina to go get Dougie, who is he's not setting the world on fire down there, but he's being a good steady presence. He's 6'6", he skates well, he's got a good shot, right-handed. That's the guy you want to pair with Ivan Provorov. That's the guy you want with him. And at worst, what is he playing with? Ghost? You got two guys who can move the puck from either side of the ice. You got a 6'6" guy, watching out for Ghost, who's 5'11". It's Hextall, for all of the great things that he did. His patient approach missed out on some of the things that could have been had. Yaroslav Halak was a free agent, but he didn't want to sign anyone. Robin Lehner, who's doing well with the Islanders, free agent, and he didn't sign any of those guys because he was willing to go into the season with two unproven commodities. And I say unproven in the sense of, Brian Elliott's 33 years old. You don't know how long his body's going to hold up for. At 33, he's been playing in the league a while. And Michael Neuvirth has never played more than 30 games for the Philadelphia Flyers. These guys, you don't know that they're going to come back and be healthy. I don't care how much yoga Michael Neuvirth did in the offseason. He still can't stay healthy. I giggle every time I say it, but I always think of Bill Matz from Broad Street Hockey Radio when I think of Michael Neuvirth, because he and I have the same philosophy, and I've said it for a while as well. Players that are hurt are always hurt. You can always count on them to be hurt, and Michael Neuvirth is one of those guys. Eric Lindros was one of those guys. You knew Leclerc was going to miss 6 or 7 games throughout a season just randomly because his back. The man had an awful back because he used to just stand in front of a net and take punishment. Hurt players are always hurt. And that's just, Austin Matthews is now going to have shoulder issues for the rest of his career. He's already had them. It's only going to get worse. He might be a guy that plays 60 games a season because he's going to miss, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks a season for ailment, for his shoulder, for his knee, for his whatever. I'm saying shoulder now because shoulder injuries are reoccurring pretty heavily in a contact sport. But, he's a guy that might play 60 games every year, and he might play a great 60 games, regular season for you. But hurt players are always hurt. and Michael Neuvert is one of those guys. And Hextall didn't feel like it was something he needed to do, and I think that's a problem. But that's all I really have for you guys for this episode of the Florida Flyer. Thank you for listening to me vent and talk about other world possibilities and stuff. I know that this was less me talking about the team than discussing possibilities or things that could have happened and maybe should have happened. But yeah, I hope that you guys like this. Hopefully within, like I said, the next couple of weeks, I'll have the website up. I don't have a URL for you yet because I don't have the website yet. But I'm going to hopefully still be doing these videos. I will try and be a little better about doing them weekly. But thank you guys very much for checking out the Florida Flyer. I hope you liked it. Like, subscribe, comment if there's anything you'd like me to talk about in the future. I would hope to get to do that. So yeah, guys, thank you so much. And I will see you guys back here next time. And of course, let's go Flyers.